everyone, welcome to a new video. Today, we're gonna talk about 2021 and what that means for us. First thing that I wanna do is I wanna talk to you about what 2020 was. So numerologically, 2020 was an emperor year. So the way you get that is you take the numbers 2020 and then you add them across. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0, which equals 4. That is the emperor card. So we spoke about that a couple of videos ago, about how the emperor is about ruling, kingdom, taking up space, knowing who you are at your center so that you can then rule equally, fairly, justice-oriented, led leadership, right? So you can rule from a really centered place. Emperor is the card of Aries. The phrase for Aries is I am. So think about your last year. I bet every single one of you watching this knows way more about themselves at the end of this year than you did at the beginning. You know what you're truly made of. I sure as hell do. This year was about completing the sentence, I am. The reason that folds into the emperor is because you need to know exactly your center, exactly your purpose, exactly your reason for being on this planet in order to rule from a place of centeredness and not dominance, not power over, power of. You want to offer the mission of a king or a queen or a ruler of some sort. And I don't necessarily mean this in the traditional type of like someone sitting on a throne like this and having power over. Power can also just be being yourself in a space that wishes you not to be, or just choosing to say no when everyone expects you to say yes. I mean power in a bunch of different ways, not just in the kingdom way. A centered emperor comes from a place of knowing who they are so that they can feel compelled and strong enough and supported enough to offer their power to others, to offer aid to others, to take up space in the most beautiful way. Think of that tree that was in that tarot card, so that your power, your space, your ability, your essence, more or less, can shade others if needed, can protect others if needed, that you can use your power, your strength, your selfness to protect all of the creatures that live in your tree. So that is 2020. That's what we're leaving. Finishing the sentence, I am. Think on that. If you're a journaler, that's a great thing to journal. Start every sentence with I am and then finish it. See what comes out. It might actually be really powerful for you. 2021 is a Hierophant year. So again, it's 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. So Hierophant is the Taurus card. It is the first card in the tarot that appears with more than one person in it. So you can see there's the disciples down here and then the center focus right here. So Hierophant used to be called the Pope. Of course, that's changed because they didn't necessarily want to have the outright Christian context to it. But the way that I've learned the Hierophant is that they are the disseminator of divine. Disseminator of divine. They are not divine. The Hierophant is about having that connection between groundedness, interaction, community, real like grit on the earth interactions, and divine connection. It is having the connection from above or wherever. It's having that soul connection and having your feet on the ground. It's not just hibernating and reading a bunch of information about different religions and spirituality and practices. It's practicing them and sharing them too. There is this exchange of information that happens in the Hierophant. Hierophant is also the card of challenging your gods. I say that severely because that's what it feels like. The Hierophant speaks to belief systems, structures in place that feel rudimentary to yourself. The phrase for Hierophant is I believe. So we are going from I am to I believe. The lines are getting drawn in the sand, more or less. I don't necessarily mean that in a hostile way. And I don't mean that religion's dying when I say our gods are dying. I mean that we will learn in this coming up year what it is we truly believe in. We are going to be looking at the structures in place and questioning whether or not we need to listen to them anymore. Very frequently, the traditional read of this card was that a teacher's coming to you. I don't necessarily agree with it that way. However, In terms of this year coming up, we might break off from our teachers. The Hierophant is calling us into our personal connection with divine and having us reevaluate who is telling the story. In all of history, the victor writes the story, right? So the Hierophant is asking us, do we want to listen to that anymore? Now, may I say, as someone who's incredibly context heavy, right? This is not an excuse to eschew education. This is not an excuse to say, I know better than these trained professionals, right? This is not an invitation to willfully accept ignorance when information is actually the thing that's needed. Hierophant is inviting us to become our own teacher, to learn, to stop being spoon-fed information in a way that makes us so we're asleep. And so what does Taurus mean to you? What does the phrase I believe mean to you? What do you believe? How has that changed over this past year as well? So I think personally, not trying to fortune tell in any way, mostly just thinking about like what's happening in the context of society, I think there's going to be a lot of systems being broken next year. Or this year, this year in 2021, I think there's going to be a lot of systems being broken because we are realizing that they no longer work. I think that's amazing. I think it's challenging. I think it's going to rattle us to our core because we have been indoctrinated into this society that we've known as regular for all of our lives up until last year. It's very much this element that people keep saying, like, I can't wait till it goes back to normal. It never will. It never will. Because even if the best case scenario happens and we move forward and COVID is a thing that goes away somehow and, you know, things go back to normal for so many people, too much has broken. Too much has been revealed. Too much pain has been forced upon others. Too many things have come to light. So the Hierophant is going to be asking us to step up, to learn, to speak, to listen, and to break the things that no longer work, because that is how you evolve. When you assert your belief systems, you learn where the line in the sand is. And so that is something that we will be learning this year. The other thing I want to mention, and the reason why I take this to a societal level, is because 2021 is going to be a year of Aquarius. I think there's 7 planets in Aquarius in February alone. Aquarius is community minded. It is higher level. It is not on an individual level, it's above even macro level. Aquarius is very frequently have the idea of like, we are all human. Like, we're not breaking down into race or class or creed or religion or ethnicity. We are human. While as a sociologist, I don't prescribe to that because like the repercussions of being any of those things are real on this planet right now. That is the mentality of the Aquarius mindset. It's being way above the micro. It's about healing community, healing us as a species. Like the biggest level of humanity in general. And so that's why also Hierophant has this really community-oriented, high-level healing that is happening. That's why I talk about government. That's why I talk about religion. That's why I'm talking about all of these really big structures, because these are the things that will need to be healed as we move forward. Because if you are examining the structures in place and whether or not they help or harm us anymore, and you mix that with Aquarius energy, truly what we have is a healing energy that is at a societal wide level. Think of what that might mean to you. Think of how that feels to you, going from I am to I believe. Going from sitting on a throne alone to sitting on a throne with many. What does that mean to you? Of the things you learned this year, how can you hold on to them with softness instead of pain? How can you think of them as teachers instead of punishments? And then with those answers, how can you share this with those that wish to listen? That's the important part. How can you share what you have learned, and how can you share your own divine connection with those who wish to listen? we're entering a new era, that's for sure. And at the end of the day, even though I hate New Year's, there is an element of this that feels really good to me. It feels really challenging, but also that we're ready. I'm ready for things to break, personally. I think all of us are, both on a micro and a macro level. At least I hope. I think with the Hierophant coming in this year, we are really going to learn what it is that we, as a collective, not as the ones in power already, but we as a collective, believe in. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you so much. I do hope you have a really fantastic beginning of the new year, and that the Hierophant brings you really beautiful, beautiful things. If you're interested in checking out more of my content, please feel free to subscribe here, and also follow me on Instagram at LightbringerRituals. And other than that, I'll see you next time. Bye.